Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So you've seen the pictures of the dollies that I've made. I'm going to show you. These are little fairy dollies, so they're going to have wings on their backs. And we're also going to be doing the pantaloons, which do come off. So let's get started. I am going to make them. These are going to be the color of my shoes and my dress and stuff. You can pick any color you want. I'm using a 4-weight worsted yarn. I'm using a 5mm or an H hook. And I'm using this for a skin color. So whatever color you want your shoes, that's the color you're going to start with. So unfortunately we're going to start with a magic ring, and I know how much you guys don't really like that, but I'm going to go slow. So you've got your ring and you've got your chain one all in one motion. So you're going to put 6 single crochets into the center. Pull that tight. You are going to need a stitch marker because we're going amigurumi style. So you're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and if this first one is difficult to get into, like it can be, just take a needle, pull up and wiggle it. It just kind of stretches it out. It'll all go back into shape. So just put 2 single crochets in each stitch around, and after your first stitch for this hole, you're going to put your stitch marker. Then you can put your second stitch into that same space, and continue around with 2 single crochets in each stitch. So count to 12. So the next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So an increase is 2 single crochets in the same space. So you're going to put your 1 single crochet in, and then your next stitch is going to be 2 single crochets, and that's your increase, 2 in the same hole. So the next stitch will be 1 single crochet, and the next stitch will be 2 single crochets. So repeat that all the way around, and at the end you should have a total of 18 stitches. So if you've done everything right, you should end your repeat at your markers, which is 2 single crochets in that same space. So I'm going to switch colors now because that's about the bottom of my shoe. So I'm going to go to the blue. Now I'm going to throw this blue on the ground. So you don't have to switch colors here. If you're doing your shoe all in one color, you don't have to worry about switching here. can get into my stitch. So for this round, you're going to do 7 single crochets. That's hard to say. So I've already done my first one, and I'm not going to use my stitch marker because I've switched colors, so I don't really need it until I come back around. But if you're not switching colors, put your stitch marker in on this first stitch. That's my first stitch. That's 1 single crochet. I'm doing 7. So bear with me, I'm trying to just weave my ends in as I go, and for some reason it's starting out very awkward. That was a hard 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. Okay, so that was difficult for some reason, and I don't think it needed to be. So after you've done your 7 single crochets, and now you're waiting for me, you can do 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. So a half double is yarn over, go into your stitch. You got 3 loops. You're just going to pull through all the loops. So that's your half double. So put 2 of them into this same stitch. Sorry, my camera shut off after 3 minutes. You're going to put 2 half double crochets into the next stitch. This video is not starting off great. Hopefully it gets better. So we're just shaping the foot at this point. You're going to put 2 half doubles in the next stitch. And 2 half doubles. 2 half doubles into the next stitch. And then you can single crochet 7 back around. So you should have a total of 22 stitches. So we're just going to single crochet 7. I am cutting this off. I don't need this on anymore, so I'm just going to snip off the purple for now. And 7. So you should have a total of 22 stitches. So we've shaped the foot. I think you can slightly see it there. So your next row is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So now I got to go back to my marker because if you ever lose track of where your marker should be, right here where we started the spiral, that's where your marker should be. So if you ever forget to put the marker back or anything, just look at, so this is the circle we started with, but this is where we started our spiral, and that should be where your marker's at. So 1 single crochet for 22 stitches. So that was my 22 stitches. So now we're going to decrease a little bit. So after this decrease, we're going to change to our skin color. So this is our last with our colors. So you're going to do 2 single crochets. So after the first one, put your stitch marker in. Do another single crochet. And then you're going to do a decrease. So that's yarn over, pull through, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops. You're going to come through all 3 of those loops. That's a decrease. So you're just single crocheting 2 stitches together. So repeat, single crochet, and decrease all the way around. Now you won't be able to fit your full last one in. You can just do single crochet, and then you're at your marker. Just like that. So now we're going to switch to the skin color. You can switch. There's 2 ways you can do this. So the last way you probably seen, I just put it there, came through the stitch, grabbed it, pulled through. If it's easier for you, you can just make a slip stitch. Make it small to fit your hook. Come through the stitch. Put your slip stitch on there. Just make sure it's tight. Then you can pull through and finish your stitch. Whoops. Or you can get caught up on a bunch of crap. Finish your stitch. Pull your blue tight. Pull your white tight. And you're all set. You're all ready to go. So now that we're attached, we are going to do another decrease. So that's our first stitch. So we're going to do 1 stitch and a decrease. So this is our first stitch. So our next one is just going to be a decrease. I'm weaving my ends in as I go. As awkward as it is, it's worth it. So 1 single crochet and a decrease. One single crochet and a decrease. So you can cut the other colors off whenever you want. I'm just about back around, so I'll cut them off. There we go. So we can cut all of this off. And I just cut off my purple tail too from when I started. So I'm going to throw my white on the floor because it's a great big ball. So at this point you should have 12 stitches. So for the next 18 rows, it's just going to be a single crochet in each stitch around. So you can either just count 12, or you can put your stitch marker in. So I'm not going to do all of it with you, obviously, not 18 rows. So I'm going to leave you to it, to do your 18 rows, and then I'll put my pause screen up, so you don't have to worry about anything. So put my pause screen up. You do your 18 rows. You can make your second leg. I'll put the pattern up there so you can make your second leg. And the one leg you can fasten off with, but don't fasten off with the other leg. And I will meet you right back here and we'll proceed. Hi guys, so I thought I better show you before we go any further. So before the pause screen, I'm just gonna show you how to stuff this, guys. You're gonna have to stuff as you go. And it didn't dawn on me until right now, but I didn't get too far on my leg. So shove some stuffing down there, and you're gonna want to stuff as you go, but you're gonna have to stuff it to shape the foot. I mean, even though we kind of shaped the foot, you're still gonna have to. So really just shove it right into the toe part. But try not to overstuff it either, and then whatever's left you can shove down into the heel part. So press on the bottom to kind of help move it around a bit. So it takes actually quite a bit, more than you would think. And then you can shove it up the leg as normal, making the leg, you can make the leg as fat or as skinny as you want, but yeah, just try to kind of shove into the toe part, and you can move it around after so that you get it set like that. So I just wanted to give you an idea, and then you can stuff as you go, and then so now I'll actually put the pause screen up. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish stuffing my one leg. So this one I fastened off with, and I just shoved the string, the yarn, down inside. So it doesn't have to be super duper to the top or anything, because we're not closing this up. We're gonna stitch around it. So make sure you got both your feet going in the right direction. So you take your stitch marker out, because it doesn't really matter at this point. And we're going to use it to, so I think I need one more row. I didn't actually count. I should have counted. I think I need one more row. That didn't seem even to me. So I'm just going to go around again. Okay, so that's more like it. So I suggest you find your middle stitches and stitch them together like that. Actually, I'm going to go back one more. So what I want you to do, this might be a little unorthodox, but this is the way I do it. I don't know how everybody else does it. So just single crochet around to that marker. I'm struggling to do anything today. I don't know why. So right into the stitch before the marker, chain 4, and then you're going to go right into the stitch beside the marker on this leg. Holy cow, I am awkward today. And then you're just gonna stitch around till you get to the stitch before the marker on the other side, and you're gonna do the exact same thing. And even into this oddball stitch that you fastened off in. Chain 4. Go into the stitch again right next to the marker. So you're going to have a bit of a hole in your crotch, and we're going to sew that right up as soon as we switch colors. And then you can single crochet back around to about roughly where your stitch marker was. You can, if you can remember, you can also go by where your spiral starts. So mine was about there. So you can take this apart now, because we're going to have to crochet into these stitches. So I have more than one marker. I could have just used 2 markers for this, but I didn't bring them out to my work table. They're in the other room, so that's why I only used 1. So we're just going to continue . So this will be round 2. We're going to do 3 rounds. So you're just going to single crochet. And then when you get to your chain, you are going to go right into that chain. Preferably both stitches into that chain. Only getting 1. 2 stitches. Nope. I'm only getting the 1. There, I got 2. Might be a little awkward trying to get 2 stitches. That one was easy. And then right back to the other leg. Single crochet around. I know I'm really close to the camera right now, but the third round before I increase, the last round, it'll be easier. I think I got my ball unstuck from my table. So it'll be a lot easier to go around because we've already messed around with trying to do these chains. So thankfully there's only 4 or 3. Like if you're doing them and you only want, if you're doing it and you only want the space between your legs to be smaller, then just do 3. So it can be quite awkward. And then you're back onto your legs. So the next round is just, again, same thing, just one single crochet in each stitch around. I can't give you a number of stitches because, number one, I didn't write them down. And it all depends on how many spaces you put between your legs, so that's why I didn't keep track of my stitches, because not everyone's going to put 4 stitches between their legs, so that's the gap. So you may want to only do 3, so then that would change your stitch count. So don't worry too much about the stitches. You can't really screw this up. Stitch count doesn't really mean anything right now. So we're just going to do our final row before our increase. So if you don't put, if you don't stuff your legs tight up in this area, you'll be able, the doll will be able to sit and stand. So it all depends on how much stuffing you put up in the, around the crotch area of the doll. Right now, none, because we got a great big hole in our crotch. So that's our 3rd row of straight single crochets. We are going to do an increase and then we'll switch colors. So our increase is just going to be 1 single crochet and an increase all the way around. So that's my 1 single crochet, 2 in this hole. So it's pretty aggressive. 1 single crochet and then 2 single crochets all the way around. I keep hitting the camera with my legs. So I'm going to finish my increase and I will meet you back around at the stitch marker. Okay, so I'm back around. I've done my decrease, or my increase. So I'm going to switch colors to whatever color you want your dress to be. So mine's going to be 2 different colors. So if you're doing 2 different colors, whatever color you want the top to be is the color we're going to change to right now. Because what I've done is this is where I've changed colors. So I changed colors here, but I want my top to be purple, and I want my, no, actually I think I'll change to blue. I'll have my top blue and my dress purple. Yeah. So I'm going to change to my, to my blue color then. Put my purple back. Like I said, I didn't plan out what I was going to do with my colors. I just knew what River wanted as far as colors, so I'm just going to change to my blue. So I don't need my stitch marker because I've changed to my color. So you're going to do 10 rows of your dress color. After the first row, obviously, you're going to need to put your stitch marker in when you come back around. And it's all just 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 10 rows. So I'm going to weave in my white for a little bit here. And then once I cut it off, then we can sew up this hole so that when you do your 10 rows, you're going to be able to stuff it along the way. So we'll just do a little bit here, weaving this white tail in. Oops. Sewing up the crotch is pretty simple, and you can't even really tell it the crotch is sewn up the way we're going to do it. But there's really no getting around it. As far as I know anyway, there's no getting around it. So that's probably good for about where I'm taking my white. So snip that off, and then you're going to want to snip off a piece for sewing. So make a slip knot on the one end of it, because we're going to use that while we sew. I didn't bring my needles out too either. So pull that out so you don't lose your loop. So what we're first going to do is find your end. No, I gotta go get my other needle. I don't like this one. Seems thick. So I need my package of needles. Here's that one. Okay, let's try this again. So find your end, and you just want to go through the stitches. You don't want to go deep down into the leg, or you just want to go through your stitches. See if I can do it this way. Find an easy way to show you. Then you're going to come through that loop. Pull as tight as you can so you make that knot pretty small, because we don't want to see any of that after. So you're just going to do a whip stitch. So all you're going to do is just go through your stitches. And pull pretty tight. I know it can be awkward. Oops. It's really awkward to show you. It's a lot easier to do it without trying to show you. You're just going through your stitches. Do you see? We're not going in deep. We're just going just through our stitches, so that each thing we do, each sew we do, is just going to look like a stitch with a whip stitch. So I'm not going over crazy, just going through the very top, and it'll hold. I don't think you have to go down deep into something for it to hold. It should hold perfectly fine. Make sure you get that part of the leg. That's a little tight. So once your crotch is all sewn up and it looks good, you can just go in as close as you can to your piece and just shove it into your doll. So once you pull that, it just looks like a stitch. So if you go in close enough to this piece of thread, and you pop out somewhere. When you pull that, it just looks like a stitch. So you won't be able to see it. But if you go way out, you're going to see it. So you got to just try to find a hole that's fairly close to that. And just weave back and forth. And you're just basically giving it an opportunity to get lodged in there. So that if it does try to come undone, it's got different directions it has to go. It's got quite a ways to go. So that's the whole purpose behind that. I can snip that off. And then we're basically going to do the same thing with this piece from the slip knot. You're just going to start weaving it in and down through the stuffing. I'm going to find a spot to start weaving. And down through the stuffing and pop out. You probably don't have a lot of room for something like this, but I'll try to at least do it a couple of times. So there you have your crotch sewn shut, so it won't be noticeable at all that that's happened. So since that is done, we can continue on with our 10 rows of our dress color. So I will put up my pause screen and I will meet you back here. So when you come back around, don't forget to put your stitch marker in, because once you start layering the blue, you're going to forget where your stitch marker was. So, and I know that sounds like it should be common sense, but trust me, I've forgotten, because, you know, you get watching TV or whatever, and you're just kind of doing it. And so, just keep in mind what I told you before earlier in this video, is if you do forget where your stitch marker was, you can always look at the bottom of the feet where you started your spiral, and then just kind of line it up, the best eyeball line up you can, to get it in somewhat of a, it's not going to change your stitch count. Your stitch count is still going to be your stitch count. So it just might change things when you start decreasing and stuff, but it's not a super duper big deal. So I'm going to leave you here with my pause screen, and you can do your 10 rows, and I will meet you back when we're done. Okie dokie, I got my 10 rows done. So we're going to start to decrease. Now we're going to do our first stitch. We're going to do 4 single crochets all together, counting this one. So 2, 3, 4. And then our decrease. So our decrease is single crochet 2 together. So 4 single crochets. And a decrease. So I should have ended my decrease off. I obviously have an extra stitch. No big deal. I'm just going to put a single crochet in there. So you can stuff this at any time. I just feel it to be easier to not stuff it yet. So your next round is just going to be one single crochet. So your next row is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. So you should have 36 stitches if you're doing everything I'm doing. So that's 1, 2, and 3 single crochets, and then your decrease. So that you repeat all the way around. Alright, these legs really get in the way. And again, I have that extra stitch because I didn't do anything about it, so I'm just going to put a single crochet in there. I'm probably not going to do anything about it because it's not going to make a huge difference on my doll. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. So there's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and a decrease all the way around. And my extra stitch. You probably don't have one. I have one. It's not a huge deal. So now for the next 6 rows, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 6 rows. So I am going to put up my pause screen, and I will meet you right back here after we've done 6 rows. Alright, I got my 6 rows done. I think we're going to start putting some stuffing in here. And make sure you do get it down into that leg area. Just make sure you get it down into the legs pretty good. But if you do want the doll to be able to sit, don't overstuff. Don't overstuff anyway. Period. But so at this point, you can my legs are still pretty squishy that I can make the dog sit up against something, but so I think that's good enough for now. So our decrease is going to be 2 single crochet and a decrease. So that's 1, that's 2 single crochet, and then your decrease. So do that all the way around. 2 single crochets, and then 2 together. And then I'm left with my 2 single crochets. So one more decrease and then we'll do a color change. So back to our skin color so we can put the head on. So this one is just going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. So 1 single crochet and a decrease. Should have 12 stitches when we're done. I don't think I got 12. Put my 1 in there. So we can switch to our skin color. So once you switch to your skin color, you're going to do, let's do this the easy way. Oh, let me go through the... Once you switch to your skin color, you're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So you're going to do an aggressive. Now we're starting the head, so you want the head nice and round. Sorry, these legs get right in the way, so just make sure you pull tight on your blue and your white. And if it's easier to hold both, just twist them around. You're going to want to weave those in along with your stitches. So you're going to do 2 in each stitch. But technically that was your first stitch. And it's blue and white, or whatever color you're using. So you're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So at the end of it you should have 24 stitches. I'm done with my white tail. I just got my blue yarn. You can cut that off whenever you know you feel that it's weaved in properly. I usually go one whole go around because I'm just anal that way. I just really like to make sure my work isn't gonna come apart. So that's just me. So you can cut your color off now. So your next row round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's your 1 single crochet. And then 2 in the next hole. So it's going to get crowded, but we got to make a nice round head. So 1 single crochet, the next stitch 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, all the way around. It's going to be really easy to miss stitches, so make sure you're pulling your work apart to be able to see what you're doing. Yeah, I almost missed that stitch. So our next round is going to be 2 single crochet and an increase. So that's our first. This is our second. And then your increase. 2 in the same stitch. So 1 single crochet in that stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then the next stitch gets 2 single crochets. So I will leave you to this, and I will meet you back around on the other side. Alright, so I've come back around again. Now this is what it should look like, and it looks pretty Pretty silly, doesn't it? But this, it will all, I mean, it'll look like this after we're done. So, it looks pretty stupid now. It looks like you might have done something wrong, but you haven't. Everything's right. It's supposed to look stupid like this. So, you can probably put some more filling in here. So, this top part is still the dress. So, this is where, here is where we build on the other dress part. We do that after we put the head and everything on, and we'll do that. For now, you can stuff this. Makes it easier, and you can kind of understand more where I'm headed with my funny design. So, trust me, it all works out in the end. The reason I aggressively came in like this, because this is the waistline. So we're going to build the dress off of here, around here. So that's why. So try not to overstuff this. You still want that waistline. And then this is the top of her body, and then obviously her head that we're starting. So that's what's going on there. So, our next round is going to be just one single crochet in each stitch around. It doesn't matter how many stitches you have. Whatever you have, it's all going to work out in the end. So anyway, 45 is what I have. But again, this is beginner friendly. If you don't have 45, if you have 50, it'll be fine. It'll still look like a head. It'll still be round. It'll still work out okay. So from here we're going to do 3 rounds of just single crochet in each stitch around. So I'll meet you back here after our 3 rounds, and you can kind of see the head coming together. Okay, so still looks kind of silly, but we're going to start decreasing. So your first round of decreases is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease. So that's our first one. So that's 5 single crochets and 2 together for your decrease. So you should have 40 stitches, and you can count them in your next round because you're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So here's where you can count your stitches and add and take away or do whatever you gotta do. So this round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease. So that's number 1. It's 4 single crochets and a decrease. So it's coming together. Getting shape. Your next round is just 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So you should have 32 stitches. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets in a decrease. You're not going to fit your other one in, your other decrease, so just put 1 single crochet in there. So at this point you should have 26 stitches, and we're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then we're going to do the eyes and the mouth. So 1 single crochet, you should have 26 stitches ish. And I have my 1 extra stitch as usual. I've been carrying throughout this entire project. And mainly I'm doing it to show you that it really doesn't matter if you add or subtract 1, because I mean I've been adding and my face is perfectly fine. It's working out. So at this point, make sure the front of your legs is showing. You have to put this at the front of the face. Once you get your safety eyes on, you're not going to be able to change it. So make sure you are at the front of your doll. Alright, so once you find the front of your doll, you can start digging out your eyes and your nose. So we want to do this before we fill it. I'm just going to do silver eyes. Don't often do silver eyes, but I get a lot of those. So for my eyes, so find, like I said, the front of your feet, because you don't want to. This, where we just ended, should be at the back of your doll. So this should be at the back of the head of the doll. I went 3 rows down. So 1, 2, 3, found my hole, and I went 5 stitches across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then you can kind of pop the face out at that point and try to see if it looks like it's in the center or if it's looking sideways or whatever you want the doll to be doing. And I would say that's pretty centered. So I'm going to put my backs on. Just remember, once your backs are on, you're not going to get them off. You're not going to get these off again. So make sure you did it right. So I'm just going to take a little bit of black. So just a little bit of black. Pretty simple mouth, you can't really go wrong. I'm just going to go straight. straight in with that side. Three, four across, go straight in there. So, I mean, once it's there, then again, you can have a look to see how you feel about your mouth. This one here, I only did 3 stitches across. 1, 2, 3. So this one's here is obviously a little bit of a wider mouth because I kind of want all the dolls to be different. And then for Trin Trin's doll, I did a smiley mouth. So I think I'm going to go with that. So all I'm going to do is tie it in the back here. Now you can put the mouth on if you're more comfortable after, but I don't really want to do that when I can do it before. Everything's all tucked in there and I know that it's not going to pop out. So if you do it after you've stuffed the head, you'll have to tie a knot and hope that it just doesn't ever come out. But doing it this way, I know that's not coming out. I know. So you can stuff your head a little bit at this point. We're just going to finish decreasing and closing the head up. So push down into that neck. Make sure you're getting this stuffing right down into that neck because you don't want a wobbly head. A lot of head wobble usually happens if you've sewn the head to the doll. But if you're following any of my amigurumi, I don't like to sew my heads on. I just build my heads on. So just make sure that neck is going to be nice and solid in there. So I'm going to finish stuffing it later. I'm going to move on here to our next round. So our next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease. So there's 1. And our stitch marker. Keep changing the color of my stitch marker. 2 single crochets and then your decrease. So this is a little fairy that we're building. It's not just a dolly. It is a little fairy, so we are going to be doing wings as well as arms. So I've only put the 1 set of wings on. I left the other set of wings off the doll because the ones I showed you, we're not going to be doing those ones. We're going to be doing another set of wings that I actually designed a very long time ago, but I like them. The other set of wings, it's just a lot more work in getting them hardened so that they don't flop around. And then the ones we're going to do today on this one are going to be wings that you're going to be easily be able to spray starch or do what I'm going to show you to do to stiffen them. So you should have 20 stitches at the end of this decrease, and we're going to do 1 stitch around, 1 stitch in each hole, so you should be able to count this row to make sure you have 20. Again, it's not a huge big deal if you have 1 or 2 less or more. And you guessed it, our next round is going to be one single crochet and a decrease. So that's our one single crochet. So we go right into a decrease. One single crochet, decrease, so I'm just going to take this out and I'm going to put my decrease in this space, because right now we're just going to finish stuffing it and then we're just going to close up the head entirely, so it doesn't really matter. I've got a little tiny hole where I can finish stuffing. So if you press on it and it doesn't boing back, then you don't have enough stuffing. Just make sure your head is nice and round. You don't want it to be a funny shape. So all we're going to do here, we're going to do six times. We're going to decrease 6 times. So we're going to single crochet 2 together, and we're going to do that 6 times. There's no single crochets in the middle of it. That's 3. Squeezing the head 2 to get it nice and tight. That's 4 times. That's 5 times. So one more time for a decrease. And then you're going to fasten off. So go into your next stitch and do your slip stitch. And you're going to fasten off. But fasten off enough to sew with. Some brain leakage there. So you're going to have to move the stuffing around, obviously, after you've sewn it, because it can be a little messy with all the squishing. So get your needle. So you're going to go into this stitch and then back down through that stitch, like that. You're going to do the same here. You're going to go in through there, back down there. Oops, don't go into the head. And you're going to do that until you get back around to the knot, and then you're just going to pull. And then that closes right up, like that. And then you're going to have to come back around to keep everything nice and snug. Now we're putting a wig cap on this. We're going to make a wig cap for the hair, so it doesn't really matter what this looks like. So you can just weave your needle in and out again like we do to secure this and make sure it's not going to go anywhere. There you go. So you'll just kind of have to fix the head a little bit wherever you squished it around. But that is our doll. So I know my shoes look funny, different colors, but that's what she wanted, so that's what she gets.